Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel. Tap the notification bell. I'd appreciate it majorly. So, just in another update on the two missing Idaho kids, Joshua Vallow and Tylee Ryan, his picture's been all over the place at this point. And just wanted to provide a little update and continue to kind of think on this and talk and just follow the news that's come out. What the latest is, they served a search warrant on Chad Daybell's home, which is what that video was. There's the two kids that are missing. Joshua Vallow on the left, who's 7 years old. Tylee Ryan on the right, who's 17 years old. They're siblings. They're Lori Vallow's kids. Joshua Vallow isn't adopted, and he has special needs. I think he has autism level 2, I believe, and that actually requires medication. And they've been missing. They were last seen in September, I believe. Which is prior to when the authorities started looking into this as a missing persons case, when they were asked to do a welfare check by relatives outside of the state of Idaho, and that's Chad Daybell on the right there, whose wife died on October 19th, now is being looked into as a suspicious death. And that's the house they were searching. It's his home, in Salem, Idaho, which, the address comes up as Rexburg, Idaho. So I don't know, if it's just north of Rexburg or is actually in Rexburg and at the very northern end of it. And there's sort of like a main town of Rexburg. I don't even have that up on the map here. And the three different, there was, three different agencies or departments. The Rexburg Police Department was involved in this search warrant. The Fremont County Sheriff's Office, which I assume Rexburg is in Fremont County, as well as the FBI. And the Rexburg Police Department actually requested, the FBI's assistance in this case. It's not known, or the reporter on this, and that's who's doing that live stream there that he posted, and actually this is his article over at the East Idaho News, and that's the individual right there, Eric Grossarth. And East Idaho News has definitely had the most accurate and fastest information, the most details on this case, because it's the local news outlet. So. But he explains in this article that, but that they were executing this search warrant as it relates to the suspicious death of Tammy Daybell, his Chad Daybell's wife. And Chad Daybell did, just a few weeks after his wife's death on October 11th, ended up marrying Lori Vallow, whose previous husband, Charles Vallow, died not long ago in the summer of 2019. I think it was July 10th or 11th. And but he was explaining that they were executing this search warrant as it relates to her suspicious death, but also as it relates to the missing kids. Both they're all connected, according to, I think it's the Fremont County Sheriff Len Humphreys, who talked to East Idaho News, and that both they were searching this for both cases. They're all connected or related. And they wouldn't reveal exactly what it was that allowed them, what were the circumstances that basically gave them probable cause to execute the search warrant, which obviously a judge had to, to approve. And there's a fair amount of video on it. He's talking about this as the search is ongoing, and then there's a raw video provided on their YouTube page, that's 17 minutes long, that captures various elements of the search and some of the things that they were focusing on. There were definitely, they brought in tons of different equipment, and I think towards the end eventually brought out some stuff, not specifically. I watched the entire video and his live stream. But they did focus on a couple different places and were raking and sort of shuffling through, pulling back snow from a particular area next to the house. At least one spot in particular, I think multiple spots, but one in particular where the camera focuses in on, and they have metal detectors and so forth, as well as looking at the shed that's behind the property. In fact, I stopped this live stream right here where he's talking about Tammy Daybell's body that was exhumed, and that the autopsy, an autopsy is being performed on her, and that we're still awaiting those results. They have not been released, whether the autopsy is completed by this point or not, and they just haven't released that to the public, which would be my guess, or whether it's still just ongoing. I don't know. But and also he's just indicating to you that the property also has like a shed, like a couple different structures behind a shed, as well as like almost like a barn, small barn type building. That's all part of the property, and actually that's it pictured sort of from like the property records and the home there in the front. But they searched through this portion of the, like they were looking in this part of the barn, and they have shovels and rakes, throughout this raw video, and where they were searching, for here they are, searching that shed barn portion behind the home. But here they are looking with metal detectors. And here is where they spent a considerable amount of time. It looks like on the side of the home, raking back and then, going back over it with the metal detector. And, the significance that I'm not sure. So, but we don't know exactly what the details that allowed them, to get a judge to approve, that gave them probable cause, and to get the judge to approve a search warrant for the property. So that remains unknown. And that's pretty much the extent of it. So, quickly, I'll cruise through some of this, and then I'll just want to touch on, my thoughts have been for some time now. My question, it was, in my last video, I was asking the question, is it possible that that Tammy Daybell and Charles Vallow, Lori Vallow's previous husband that died on July 10th, 11th, one of those 2 days, who was actually shot by her brother, Alex Cox is the individual who shot Charles Vallow, Lori Vallow's previous husband, supposedly in self-defense when he had gone to the home to pick up his kids, Joshua Vallow, JJ, and Tylee Ryan, either to pick them up for the weekend or whatever. I think they were going through a separation possibly, and an altercation ensued. The report was that Charles Vallow had, went at Alex Cox, Lori Vallow's brother, with a baseball bat, and Lori Vallow's brother, Alex Cox, shot him twice in the chest, killing him. But what I was asking in my previous, and there's a lot to just kind of review, so that if you're not totally familiar with this or not up to date with it, what's going on and all the various persons involved here. So my question that I had in my previous video was, I was asking, is it possible that Tammy Daybell was actually sick, like terminally sick before her death, and possibly Charles Vallow as well, and that you basically had two different couples who both had terminally ill spouses, and if there wasn't some sort of life insurance aspect to that, and if that's not what the authorities are now investigating, and is that not what the authorities possibly suspect, and why they exhumed Tammy Daybell's body, and that's what she's being tested for. I have no idea. None of this has been reported. It's just all, questions that I've formulated on my own, and but there's a number of things that led me to believe that, and some of them I'm not saying, and others, I have. One of the things is that the various sort of mysterious circumstances prior to Tammy Daybell's death, it's been reported that there was some incident where a man with a ski mask approached her vehicle just as she was getting out of her car when she arrived at home, I guess at this residence that they're searching now, a few weeks before she died, and that she screamed and the man ran away, and in the report, and they called the police and they reported this to the police. And I think she said that the man had a paint gun. I don't know exactly how she knew that it was a paint gun or what, but that's what was reported if I understand it correctly. And also there were reports, I think, that Chad Daybell, who has written many books on the Latter-day Saints, Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints Church, and there's a lot of talk about him being part of like an end of times type, that he was really into that and wrote books about that. It's been characterized even as a cult, and I don't know that I'd necessarily even go there. I don't think that I don't know. I'm not real sure, but this is not the point of what I'm saying. Is that there were reports that he had said to a neighbor or a friend of the family that he had dreamt that she was going to die, and that he had basically prophesized that he foresaw her death, like he was predicting a future event. And there's also the incident of Lori Daybell's nephew-in-law, I guess, because her niece, I think his name is Brandon, I forget, Brandon Rando or something like that. Shoot, there it is. Brandon Boudreaux. I don't know how to pronounce that. He was married to Lori Vallow's niece. So that was his aunt-in-law. And he talked about, there was that somebody had attempted to kill him, and that there were shots fired at him. And there's a report that it turns out that the shots were fired from a Jeep that was registered to Charles Vallow. But this happened, just weeks ago. So well after Charles Vallow's death. His death was in July. And we're now in October. Tammy Daybell's death was in October. Weeks ago was November, etc. And there's just various mysterious circumstances around, these two individuals' deaths. To me, it seemed as which would be from multiple. I mean, it's like there's multiple people trying to kill multiple different people, and it doesn't make sense to me. And what it seems, that's why leads me to believe that they're meant to look suspicious, and that there was efforts made to potentially make Tammy Daybell's death look suspicious. And that's where I came up with this, among other things, and just looking at photographs, I came up with this idea that maybe both spouses were terminally ill, and that they knew this, and that because of life insurance and how that works, arranged the deaths to appear different than they were. So and I don't know. I mean, it's just a thought I had. And it's pretty much the whole story there. And Alex Cox, Lori Vallow's brother, who died December 12th, the day after Tammy Daybell's body was exhumed. And he has no relation to Tammy Daybell, Alex Cox, Lori Vallow's brother, other than if the two deaths, Charles Vallow and Tammy Daybell, are linked, possibly in the way I'm questioning. And my suspicion would be that his was a suicide, thinking that, once her body was exhumed, that this would all eventually come to light. I believe, I've said this, I believe the kids are actually alive. It's been reported that Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell have left the state, and that the authorities have said they believe that Lori Vallow Daybell, who's now married to Chad Daybell, they believe she knows either where they are or what happened to them. My belief is that I believe they're actually alive, and I suspect if they are alive that it's possible that they were flown out of the country, maybe, to some remote part of the world prior to all of this, and a couple things that I just remembered is actually Chad Daybell is one of his kids. He has 5 surviving children from him and his wife, grown children. Most of them were fully grown, and some of them have their own kids themselves. So he's his grandfather, and so was Tammy Daybell before she passed. One of his sons was living in this home that they're searching here, and according to and I don't know. I mean, it sounds as though in the course of this investigation, that's how this reporter puts it. he started living at this home. So he was only started living there after this started to be investigated, and that he wasn't cooperating with authorities. And you know, so that was just one thing, one additional thing that I remembered. And I mean, I can't imagine that any of the family members of Chad Daybell would be involved in concealing the deaths of 2 kids. I don't believe that. I think the kids are alive and that they're out of the country. That's I don't know that for sure. This is just a thought I had. And I had one other thought, but I can't remember what it is. And that's the story there, dude. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I'll see you in the next video. Later, man.